This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
Steelers Nation, what is going on? This is episode 101 of the Steeler Culture Podcast, where we break down Pittsburgh Steelers football, and this episode is powered by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. And the preseason is officially in the books. Preseason is over for our Pittsburgh Steelers, and thus the final cuts deadline is Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A lot of these guys have been giving a lot of reps, a lot of opportunity throughout training camp and preseason to make a case for the 53, and some of them we actually do have listed and put on our 53-man roster prediction, man. So it'll be very interesting to see who actually makes the roster. This is just our prediction. It probably won't be the actual 53, but I think some of these guys are worth giving the spot to. And just keep in mind, the initial 53 is never the final 53 because we should be seeing some new additions because there are a lot of depth issues, and the preseason showed that.
Yeah, big time, I'd say.
The preseason showed that. Before we get into the 53-man roster prediction, if you guys would like to follow us on social media, all the ads are in the ticker below as well as in the description box below. Same thing with Spotify. We are on Spotify if you guys want to listen to the audio version of this podcast. And today's episode is sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, man.
Vic at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. I would take advantage, man. Take advantage of BetUS. Get a new sportsbook for this upcoming football season, since now we will be entering the games that actually count, man. Get advantage of the fastest, easiest deposits and payouts in the industry. 24/7, 365 days a year service. Personalized account manager as well. And, yeah, definitely take advantage of that. Link in the description box below if you guys want to sign up. And you see here are the betting lines. They have multiple player stats and whatever betting lines you guys want to get into. And, of course, for weekly picks and money lines and whatever games you guys want to get in onto, right? But for here, we're going to look at defensive interceptions. They have a multitude of players. Ramsey, Jalen Johnson, Jesse Bates, and, of course, Joey Porter Jr., the Steelers cornerback 1. He'll be entering the first full season as the cornerback 1. I think we all have full faith and confidence in another Porter just whooping ass on defense, man. Now, he isn't a guy that gets a lot of interceptions. He had one last year, which was beautifully against the Ravens. But who knows? Maybe he gets a couple more targets thrown his way. Maybe he has more opportunity to make more plays. His over-under for interceptions is 1. Does he have more than 1 interception? Now, again, he doesn't get a lot of interceptions. He's not that type of player. He's not a ball hawk. He's a lockdown machine, man. But you know what? If you guys want to say he has just 1 interception, or if you think he has more than 1, maybe he has 2, maybe he ups his interception number. You guys can bet here. The money line is 140, which are pretty solid odds, man. So let's say you want to put, let's say 100 on it. You can win 140 right there. So I'm gonna place that. You guys want to place that? You guys want to share this as well? Feel free to go to BetUS again. Link in the description box below. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring today's podcast episode. Just please gamble responsibly. Now, the 53-man roster prediction. Let's get right into it. The quarterbacks are as follows. No surprise here. Russell Wilson, who will be the starter. Justin Fields and Kyle Allen.
To no one's surprise.
Running back, Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, and Cordero Patterson. Wide receiver, this is where it gets a little interesting. George Pickens, obviously. Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson. Those are your 4 locks. Number 5 is wide open. I think they only keep 5. I think they can only keep 5.
Yeah, and that 5th wide receiver position could go to a Quez Watkins. It could go to a Scotty Miller. But for this 53-man roster prediction, we actually select Dez Fitzpatrick as the 5th wide receiver. Throughout preseason, I would say in every preseason game, Dez Fitzpatrick made a tremendous play as a wide receiver.
Yes, there was that play. Fields escaped a sack, and he was able to find Fitzpatrick on, I think it was a 3rd down. And he caught him right on the left side of the sideline for a first down there. And just in the previous preseason game, he got a long pass deep from Kyle Allen right in the breadbasket for a big gain, which got the Steelers' only other points outside the first quarter.
So I would say Fitzpatrick absolutely earned a roster spot for sure.
And not just as a receiver, but he is a gunner on special teams. And the Steelers need that because they don't have Miles Boykin no more. They don't have that gunner. They don't have that Darius Hayward-Bay type special teams athlete, that gunner at receiver. So I think Dez Fitzpatrick fits the bill mostly. I think that's going to be a huge upside for him making the roster. I think he deserves it. So shout out to Dez Fitzpatrick. And in this 53-man roster prediction, we have him making the roster as the 5th and only 5 receivers, because that'll make room for tight end where they can keep 4. Now, typically they only keep 3, but I think they'll keep 4 this year because Arthur Smith is tight end heavy, and I just think they were going to want to keep as many numbers as possible.
And plus, the tight end room is pretty crowded. It's loaded with a lot of talent.
Right, and it makes up for the fact they can only keep 5 receivers. Pat Fryermuth, Darnell Washington, Connor Heyward, and Michael Pruitt, all 4. Because Arthur Smith, like we said, tight end heavy, but he also likes the use of a fullback. Now, the only true fullback the Steelers have on the roster is Jack Coletto. We do not have him on the roster. He can make a practice squad spot, but they can always put in Pruitt or Connor Heyward as the fullback in the on-form formation.
Yeah.
They're very capable of doing that. So, thus, they keep 4 tight ends on the roster. Offensive line. Your tackles go Dan Moore, Broderick Jones, Troy Fautanu, Dylan Cook. Those are your 4 tackles. Guards, Isaac Seumalo, James Daniels, Spencer Anderson, Mason McCormick. And, of course, the one and only center is Zach Frazier. Who would be the backup center? Probably Mason McCormick. He actually saw some center time late into the Lions preseason game. So perhaps they could view him as the backup center if they want a true emergency option. Maybe James Daniels. Perhaps they can sign somebody after the final cuts, but that's what we have right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and when it comes to backup center, it's something the Steelers are going to have to do their due diligence on and look for, because
Right.
Frazier is the only center. Anderson had experience at center back at college, but he hasn't played center in a long time. You stated Mason McCormick was getting reps in preseason at center.
He looks solid.
And when it comes to snapping the ball, it was actually pretty smooth. He didn't botch one snap at all. So if they want to choose him as the backup center just to get McCormick involved and just as that emergency option, I wouldn't hate it whatsoever.
No, and the fact that they got him going in game is a pretty positive sign that they view him in that regard. So yeah, that's the entire offensive line group right there. They could add some extra bodies. Ideally, they should, but we'll see what happens after the 53. Defensive line: Cameron Hayward, Larry Ogunjobi, Keanu Benton are your starters. Montravius Adams, Dean Lowry are your veteran depth guys, specifically in the interior of the defensive line as the nose tackles. DeMarvin Leal makes the roster. I didn't think I was going to say that 2 months ago.
No, but he made quite a jump. I would say an improvement in his game throughout training camp and preseason. He really stood out.
Yeah, shout out to DeMarvin Leal, looking leaner, looking more explosive. He was always in the backfield, always around the quarterback, around the running back for a tackle for loss. Just always around the football.
Yeah.
And not just as a defensive lineman, but as an edge piece. He's playing a lot more edge, so he has that versatility. That's a great spot for him. And Isaiah Loudermilk, we do have him making the roster. Logan Lee does not. He'll probably make the practice squad.
I didn't really see a lot of Logan Lee action in preseason. I saw more so Leal and Loudermilk.
A lot more of them, yeah.
Maybe the Steelers wanted to give them that true opportunity, considering that we thought that they were pretty much on the chopping block, hence why they selected Logan Lee, right, as true competition for these guys. But Leal and Loudermilk, they made the most of their opportunity, I would say, and they earn a roster spot.
And thus, the Steelers, in our prediction, keep 7 defensive linemen. You got to keep that room stacked, and that's a lot of versatility there. It's a lot of dependability, I would say. Seeing what we've seen in the past with a guy like Montravius Adams, Dean Lowry is a multi-game starter, a very good veteran presence there, and Leal and Loudermilk really stepped up. But especially Leal, man. Shout out to him.
Yeah.
Outside linebacker: T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig, and Julius Welschof. Now, it's possible he doesn't make the 53 and he'll be on the practice squad as an international exemption. However, I think he's done enough to make the 53. Now, he's going to have some competition with Jeremiah Moon and Kyron Johnson. But I think Welschof, man, 2 sacks versus the Lions. He had a sack the game prior versus the Bills. 3 sacks in preseason. And he's got a lot of playing time, a lot of reps.
Yep.
And he's made the most out of them. So as that 4th edge guy, along with Leal, I think that's a good spot for him. I think he's earned it. I think he deserves it. As an undrafted international guy, right, playing a little bit of Michigan and then coming out of college undrafted, very, very, very impressive from Julius Welschof.
I was very surprised from what I saw from Julius. Very impressive international guy, and made the most of his opportunity. And he did a very swell job.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with Julius Welschof.
I think he does deserve that 4th edge piece. I do.
And then, yeah, he'll be a gunner on special teams as well. So shout out to him, and I think he deserves it. Otherwise, he should definitely have a practice squad spot if he does not make it. But we think he should get it for sure. Inside linebacker. Now, inside linebacker is very stacked this year. I mean, we're talking, and this is with Cole Holcomb still on the PUP list. You got Patrick Queen, Alandon Roberts, Peyton Wilson, Tyler Metcalf as your special teams gunner in that regard, and Mark Robinson. Mark Robinson does make it, and they keep 5 inside linebackers. That's a stacked linebacker.
Yeah, they still load up the inside linebacker room. Holcomb, I don't know where he is as far as his recovery process goes. He's obviously still on the PUP list. I imagine he'll be put on IR. I don't know if we see him at all within the regular season. I don't know when he comes back, but the Steelers, they did their due diligence this offseason. They still loaded up the inside linebacker room with the addition of Patrick Queen and selecting Peyton Wilson in the 3rd round. So they were very careful on keeping an eye on that inside linebacker position and Cole Holcomb's recovery time.
Yes, because there's still no timetable, and when he comes back, dude, that linebacker room is even more dirty.
Absolutely.
Oh, my God. You're talking 4 worthy starters. It's filthy. That entire linebacking core, outside and inside, dogs all over the board. All over the board, bro. You're talking 8 linebackers alone that can play on the field and make some production, make an impact. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. Cornerback, JPJ, Joey Porter Jr., Dante Jackson are your starters. Corey Trice makes it. Good for him, man. He's had a very impressive preseason. Thomas Graham and Beanie Bishop both make it, in our opinion, because they have been going head and head for the slot nickel position. Thomas Graham more so is getting a lot more reps than Beanie Bishop has the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Thomas Graham kind of took over Beanie Bishop's first-team reps because before preseason started, Beanie Bishop was getting the majority of first-team snaps as a slot corner. And now after a disappointing game versus the Texans, Thomas Graham took those first-team reps.
And not just, the disappointing game against the Texans, but him suffering an injury as well. That minor injury that set him out. Graham was given the opportunity, and past 2 weeks, he's been the first-team slot corner guy.
Right, so I guess he'll be the starting nickel guy day 1. I don't know who else it could be. They can move down Casey. They can move down Elliott if they ever had to. But we have both of them make it because I think they need as many bodies in the slot corner position as possible with Sutton on suspension. And Sutton does not make the roster in this video, in this prediction, because he will be put on the suspended list, which does not count to the 53. After the bye week, after his 8-game suspension, he'll be promoted off of the suspended list, and they will have to make a cut to make room for Sutton. So he will make the roster after week 9, but he will be put on the suspended list unless he is not in this 53-man roster prediction. So, like we said, JPJ, Dante Jackson, Corey Trice, Thomas Graham, Beanie Bishop, and Ryan Watts. Not Darius Rush. I don't think Darius Rush got much opportunity. I don't think Darius Rush got much playing time. As much as I thought he would, as much as I probably think he should have.
No, I didn't really see a lot of Rush out there throughout preseason, but what I did see was Ryan Watts. He had some reps at cornerback. He had some reps at safety. He's a Swiss Army knife type of player. He's an experiment, a nice depth piece.
He's a big body. He's a gunner as well on special teams.
Yeah, big gunner and a hell of a run defender as well.
Yes, he's just a little more versatile. He's a little more dependable. So Darius Rush, I was hoping to get more playing time, but maybe they can stash him on the practice squad.
I could see that.
Safeties. Minka Fitzpatrick, Deshaun Elliott, DeMonte Casey, Miles Killebrew. The usual, right? And, of course, special teams. Chris Boswell, Cameron Johnston, who we finally got a punter, and Christian Kuntz.
Yep.
Is your special teams unit. Much improved special teams unit. So that's the 53. That's our 53-man roster prediction. So guys like Julius Welschof make it. Beanie Bishop and Thomas Graham both make it. Leal makes it, in our opinion. We keep 4 tight ends, only 5 receivers. So that's our prediction. So we'll see what really happens. We'll see who actually makes the roster. But, of course, again, the initial 53 is never the final 53 because they will be making cuts. They will be putting waivers out for certain players that will be cut by other teams. And, of course, maybe trades could happen during, before, and after the final cuts. I think it's a necessity because, again, depth is very concerning in a lot of areas, specifically offensive line, slot corner, receiver for sure. Like those are probably the positions I would bank on the Steelers definitely trying to improve.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens in the next coming days, but that's our 53-man roster prediction. The other guys that didn't make it, John Reese Plumlee, should definitely have a Willy Wonka golden ticket to the practice squad.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, you can tell the Steelers they're working on him. You know, he's a nice experiment that they want to keep around. So I think he makes the practice squad.
Yeah, Jack Coletto, the fullback, makes it, I think, for sure, as like an emergency option. Jonathan Ward, the running back, looked a little explosive. Could make it, as well as DeJune Edwards. Maybe he'll make it. We'll see.
Yeah.
Scotty Miller, I think, will be stashed on the practice squad as that emergency option in case of an injury or unless he has to get elevated for a game or so.
I think they stacked wide receiver with the practice squad pretty heavily.
Yes.
You know, just in case.
Right. That Quez Watkins could go there as well. Maybe a Deuce Watts, maybe a TJ Luther.
Jeray Jenkins, possibly.
Right. Rodney Williams, the tight end. You know, I feel like tight end was so stacked that he didn't get much opportunity. You know, maybe he can be stashed on the practice squad again. He's another guy that looks good in special teams. It's just tight end's too stacked.
Right.
So he'll be stashed on the practice squad. And if for any reason he'll be elevated for a game or so, like just like last year. Tykeem Doss. He's that big guard, that 380-pound guard. I think the Steelers are going to want to stash him because of his measurables, because of his just his big frame. I think they're going to want to stash him and build him up. Maybe we can see more of him in the next preseason.
Yeah, it's something that they absolutely like about their offensive linemen. These big body guys. He's 380 pounds, Tykeem Doss.
Yeah.
The Steelers claimed him off waivers when he was waived by the Baltimore Ravens. So, you know, that tells you something that they want to keep this guy around. You know, they have an eye for him.
Yeah, 6'5", 380.
He's a big guy. He's a big guy, and the Steelers may want to experiment with a guy like him.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Maybe Jacoby Windman makes it as a linebacker. I thought he was a bit of a thumper in the run support. You know, maybe he can build himself to be a special teams guy in the next couple of years. Logan Lee, the rookie we got at the defensive line group out of Iowa, he should definitely make the practice squad, hopefully. Kyron Johnson, if he's not in the 53, he could make it. Otherwise, maybe Welschof makes the practice squad. But in this case, Welschof makes it, and Kyron Johnson is on the practice squad, and Darius Rush.
Yep.
And potentially we put Matthew Wright as that backup kicker just in case of anything. So those are some people they could stash on the practice squad. They won't stash everyone. That's just impossible. There'll be other people that they bring in that were cut by other teams that they'll stash on the practice squad. Those are just guys we think that they could add and that are a little deserving to be kept there, but especially a guy like Plumlee and maybe a Coletto and a Scotty Miller and a Doss and a Lee. Guys like that mostly. But let us know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Is there any other names you guys would like to make the 53? Anything you would change about our list and our prediction? Feel free to put it down in the comments below. Again, the final cuts are Tuesday at 4 p.m. It'll be very interesting to see what the Steelers do in the next couple of days in terms of roster moves, what additions they can make. We can only expect it. It's honestly a necessity. So we'll see what they do and who they add and what additions they try to make. So it'll be very fun. Again, shout out to BetUS for sponsoring today's podcast episode. Link in the description box below. Take advantage of that 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000, man. Take advantage of that. Again, link in the description box below. Thanks to them for sponsoring today's podcast episode. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one. Here we go, Steelers.
And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later. Peace!